Hey, this is Aaron.
And this is Kristen.
This is the Drive Mode Show that you're going to subscribe to. All right, that's the only sales pitch for the entire video.
Sweet.
Today we're going to
Awesome.
talk about a Mercedes.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. You know what I really love about Mercedes vehicles is the ambient lighting. I know that sounds crazy, but they do an amazing job with ambient lighting. And inside the cabin, it just feels like a first class seat in a plane. It's wonderful.
It's a cool thing. I like the door splash lighting with the Mercedes symbol because it's not just the symbol, like as an outline. It's like a detailed with like the little carvings around it and all. It's really like detailed.
I know.
Mostly I like MBUX and the you can just talk to it setup. That's a
Yeah,
cool.
I like that too. So let's talk about the GLE. I want to hear about your experiences. Let's first talk about the look of it.
Okay.
The styling, and we can talk more about that later. But let's set it up. Talk about what you liked and didn't like about how it looks.
Okay. So the GLE is a crossover coupe, which sport activity vehicle. There's a lot of names for this idea, but it's the first one of these that I can think of was the AMC Eagle, which I thought was the coolest thing ever back in the
It
day.
was, especially
Um,
with jacked up tires.
yeah. Well, so this looks very similar in design, which is what BMW, all of the even numbered X series are in this segment. And then with Mercedes, they usually end, I think, with an E on whatever they're, so they'll be like, I don't know, maybe that's wrong. But anyway, Mercedes has the same sort of idea, which is what the GLE is. So it's a coupe style, but on a crossover framing. So it sits high, it has larger tires and wheels, and so it has that kind of that crossover ruggedness. I personally think this is terrible. I really don't like the look at all.
Tell
Um,
me how you really feel.
I I don't like either company's versions of it. So I don't like the BMW versions and I don't like the Mercedes versions. And I'm not a big fan of the Audis that we're starting to see that look like this. It's just not, I don't think, for me, I don't see the the balance being correct. They look too top heavy, too tall and big on the bottom, and they don't look like they have enough to make up for that elsewhere. And then they both of these companies, especially all the German companies, they tend to make the front ends of their crossovers beefy. And in this particular design, it makes it look wrong. It makes it look front heavy. So it balances this way instead of looking overall like it's balanced flat, which the
Now,
Eagle had. The Eagle looked balanced because it had a shorter, thinner hood, so it looked more balanced. So that's my personal, but I do see enough of these on the road to know there are people that really liked this. So don't buy one
yeah,
based on my opinion.
I think, I kind of liked it because it's like driving a sedan that's lifted. And I think people like to feel like they're sitting more upright than they do in sedans. And so it has that marketing advantage. And that's why crossovers are doing so well. So from a sales perspective, it's a smart move. I hear what you're saying on the look. But I felt like when I was driving it, I didn't really think about that. So let's talk about performance next. Like, how did you feel when you were driving it?
So I had the AMG 53, which is 429 horsepower, and it's a really nice, smooth biturbo 6 they've got running there. I think it's a 6. I'm pretty sure it is. It's a really nice, smooth engine. I don't feel like it's fast, so it's not. It doesn't have a ton of pickup. It's not really quick, but it's not a slouch. It's not. You're not going to feel like you're not going to be able to make the light or get up to freeway speed going on the up the on ramp or anything. It's just not a sports variant that I would expect from AMG. Um, I think you really have to go to the 63 to get that, and that's where you move to 400 and something horsepower, I think. and you get much more out of it. So in that case, as far as the transmission and the feel in the 53, it feels really good. It's not a sports variant, and if I'm buying something with AMG badging, I kind of feel like I should be getting the sport variant.
Yeah, fair enough. And for the price, though, well, I guess that to your point, I mean, the price doesn't reflect that it's an AMG.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty reasonably priced.
Right. It was, I mean, as I drove it, it was fairly expensive, but I had every single goodie and gadget available. So it was a little touch over $80,000. But if you're buying it at the low, like it starts out somewhere below 60, I think. I think it starts at around 56 or 57. It's just, this one had everything added. So air ride suspension, I could have done without that. I don't think you really need it. It already feels really good. So the air ride is kind of a not really useful bonus. In fact, it gives it kind of a floaty quality that I didn't necessarily enjoy when you're in that 50-mile-an-hour range and you're kind of doing some corners. But it wasn't bad. I just don't think I would spend the money to get it. But I would spend the money to get that stereo.
Yes, let's talk about the stereo. It's a wait.
Bang & Olufsen.
It's a Burmeister.
Oh, it's a Burmeister. You're right. Who was I thinking of that had? It doesn't matter.
Wait, did you have the one where the speakers pop, the little the tweeters pop out with the ambient light and then they go back in?
No.
That's got to cost extra, but it's a cool effect.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't on mine because I had everything. So I think the interior is really good. I always like Mercedes interiors. Everything about them feels good. They truly deserve to use the word cockpit when they talk about their interiors, because it feels like everything has a place and it should be there, but none of it is there just because that's the function. All of it has something about it that makes it feel luxurious or extra or pretty or more comfortable or something. So everything is really well thought out in terms of not only functionality, but also luxury.
Yeah, definitely the interior of that vehicle and all Mercedes vehicles for the most part are really appointed with luxury, from the massaging seats to the heated seats, and just, yeah, it feels like you're in a spa.
So the little cupped headrest thing, like in an airplane where you can adjust it so that it feels just exactly right. All those things. Mercedes just does a really good job of thinking of them. And then as far as infotainment, I would say that Mercedes is top of the line. You don't get any better than the MBUX setup, because you have the natural voice where you can literally treat it like your Alexa or Google device and just say, hey Mercedes, and do stuff. And then it's just intuitive to use. It's easy to understand, and you can get away with almost never using the touchpad thing and just use it.
I don't know. I like to surf channels when I'm listening to Sirius. And so, okay, so my preferred audio system is with Jeep, because especially in the new Grand Cherokee and the Wagoneer line, I love how you can change them behind the steering wheel, station by station, or through your favorites. I think that's so convenient. But the Burmeister stereo system is pretty fabulous. All right, so let's talk a little bit about storage. Small storage, large storage, and passenger and driver room for this GLE.
Before we jump to that, I do want to point out that Mercedes now has gesture control, if you haven't tried it. So to do your channel surfing, you can literally just be doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I know on BMW you can do that.
And then you can just do this. So if you point in a direction, it will move it will change the station to the next direction.
Yeah, that's
But
very cool.
as far as I know, with MBUX, you have to toggle that on. It's not on by default.
Okay.
None of the cars I've had have had it by default. And there's only a handful of gestures. So you have to learn those. And to do that, you'll have to dig through your manual because they're pretty specific.
So there's like certain signs you have to make. It's like baseball.
Yes.
Sounds like you liked it though.
I did. I really like that infotainment. But you're right about Uconnect. That's in the Pacifica, and pretty much everything else is working its way into it, the new Uconnect 5. We did a full video on that when it first came out in the Pacifica at Chicago a couple years ago. So I'll try to link to that because it is very informative. The guy who designed it was sitting there talking to us about it. So,
That was good.
now you were talking about interior storage. How did you feel about it? Did you like this is where I can put this or that, or this is where I can throw the purse or the phone or whatever?
I think Mercedes does a decent job. I think a lot of vehicles don't have cup holders that are big enough for their odd shapes. But I feel like I'm trying to remember how the door pockets work, because I feel like the trend now with door pockets set it up so if you put a water bottle in it, it angles towards you, or angles toward the back. It doesn't really work very well unless you have like a disposable plastic bottle, which people are trying to move away from. They're using more water bottles, Yetis, things that keep your cups cold. So, in the GLE, did you feel like you had enough room in the pockets?
I did. So in the GLE, it's interesting you would mention that because the bottle actually cants forward slightly. So the only downer to that pocket is it's only so big around. So if you're one of those, like Jill Simoneau's with their giant ones, it won't actually fit over there. But what I really like about the drink holders is they're adjustable. So you can push the thing and they'll open all the way up and it's just an open hole. And then you can push the little button and the little grips will pop out for something smaller. So it will accommodate anything from like a Red Bull can, a little tiny round Red Bull can, all the way up to your super mega gigantor big gulp.
Slurpee.
Yeah. So you can, I really like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's clever.
The heated and cooled things for it are also awesome. So
I know, we're getting fancy now.
I know. I liked the phone's position. So you drop your phone in on the charger port, plop, whatever it is, the little wireless charger thing. And it keeps your phone just at enough of an angle that you can see it, but not enough that you're going to look at it too much. So if somebody calls and it doesn't come up on the screen, you can glance down really quick to see if you have, know who it is. Because one of the things I've noticed with most Bluetooth connections is if you have like Verizon's name card set up so that when you get a phone call and it's not in your contacts list, they'll pull it from the cloud info, like what we used to call the phone book, and show it on the screen. That doesn't always show on Bluetooth. When you get the call, you'll just have the number. So sometimes you do need to glance down and see. And also the middle thing. I love the ones, I know it's a dumb gimmick, but I love the middle compartments that open like shuttle bay doors.
Right.
Like I think it's great. And I
do too.
I like this one, the way it works, because, and in all Mercedes so far that I've seen, if you're resting or the passenger is resting their elbow on one side and you push the button, just the other side will open. So they don't have to move out of your way.
That's
to
very
grab something.
polite.
Mm-hmm. So
yep, leave it to Mercedes to come up with some way to do that in a refined way.
Yes. The rear seats. What did you think of the back seats?
I felt like they were adequate. They weren't super roomy, but they're not supposed to be. I thought they weren't squished back there. It's not like you're riding the back of a Challenger,
I was happy to find out that I fit. So in a vehicle that size, it's iffy because this isn't really a compact, but it's not a mid-size either. It's kind of in between that, kind of a small category, I think is what we would use. And In those, it's hit and miss whether or not I, at 6'3" and a couple 150 pounds, can sit and be in the back seat. But even with the driver's seat set for me at my height and then rolled back because I got out, I still had some knee room and I had headroom. Not a whole lot, but I had some. So I think if you're 6'4" or below, you probably will fit in the back seat. With the front seat forward for somebody who's a little shorter, you'd have enough room to put your feet out so that your legs can rest flat on the cushion. So the back seat was bigger than I expected. The cargo, not so much.
No, not so much. I don't know what the exact cubic feet is in the trunk, but I don't remember it being large. You could fit a couple of carry-ons in there, though.
You could fit a fair amount of stuff if you're willing to do some Jenga. Work those Tetris skills, fiddle with your Lego, brain, and get it to work. I used the GLE to haul all my stuff to a craft show. I do woodworking on the side, and I was selling stuff at a craft show, and I managed to get everything, including my table. I have a 6-foot folds-and-a-half table. All of that in the car. But to do that, I had to do it so that if anybody was going with me, it was a front passenger only. I had a table taking up the back seat. I had stuff on the back seat. And then I had the back of the car completely full. But for most people, we did a Sam's Club run in it, and it was just fine. We did regular weekly grocery shopping, and it was just fine. There is room back there, and it's accommodating. It's enough for most people most of the time, but it is much smaller than if you get the traditional SUV style.
Okay. Well, so what's your overall summary rating for this vehicle?
My overall thought is that I think that it's a good vehicle, but I wouldn't put it at the top of my list if I was shopping in this segment. If you really have to have the coupe styling, if that's really what you want, then yeah, there's really only two choices in this segment, and this is probably the better of the two. The BMW is not nearly as luxurious as this is, and the price points are pretty similar, so you're not going to be spending more or less too much for one or the other. But honestly, if I was shopping in this segment, I would be looking at the standard, the GLS, and the others with the square back, more traditional SUV style, because I think it's just a lot more versatile.
Sounds fair. Well, thanks for that summary. That was good to hear. I'm looking forward to driving it again soon anyway.
You didn't tell us what you think. You can't just put me on the spot.
You know, I really liked it. I have to agree with you. The GLS would be a better choice for me, but I think for somebody in their 20s or 30s, or 40s, whatever, who's just, they have maybe one other person in their life and they want something that's luxurious and they don't need to cart around a whole lot of stuff, that's a great vehicle. And it sits you up high. It's got all the bells and whistles if you don't mind paying the extra money. And it's got that audio system. So it's got a lot of things going for it. And I do like the massaging seats.
Yes. I think if I was an empty nester, so I didn't have to worry about the back seat as much, then I would definitely consider this. I think I would go to the 63 because I would want more power, because I would feel like if I'm going to buy this anyway, I might as well get the real sport variant and have fun with it. But it's not a bad drive. It's a great vehicle. So I think we're pretty much in agreement.
All right, deal. That's all I have.
All right. This is Aaron.
And this is Kristin.
This is the Drive Mode Show.
See ya.